Another Biden administration lawsuit targeting Elon Musk. Another one. This time for claims that Tesla practices racial harassment. Okay. This is in addition to the Biden regime's lawsuit over SpaceX not hiring enough refugees and their investigation of Tesla for building Musk a glass house. So it's incredible. Nobody is fooled by any of this. This isn't justice. This is a regime running a lawfare hit on the ideological enemy. That's it. That's all this is. This is another lawsuit targeting Elon Musk. This time it's Tesla practicing racial harassment. That's in addition to this other lawsuit where I guess the Biden administration says that Elon Musk doesn't hire enough illegal immigrants. And I mean, considering that SpaceX, I don't know, it designs and helps the government with weaponry. Yeah, well, there's laws on the books there, Joe Biden, that say, hey, if we're working on highly classified military weapons, we probably don't want any foreign adversaries to get their hands on that information. Look, it's time for the conservative movement to consolidate around Trump and aim all remaining resources, money, field staff, ballot chasers, base energy at the only thing that really matters: beating the Democrats in 2024. We need to aim it all at the Democrats in 2024. That's what we need to do. The conservative movement needs to consolidate around President Donald Trump. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Friday, 6:07 a.m., and you can see me live in the studio. That's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. We cannot stream live on the City's 92.9 Facebook page because we were banned. And I loved it in the debate. I was watching the debate last night, all of it in its entirety. And, the moderators, they asked this question about big tech censorship. It was a great question. That's actually a question Republican voters care about. And they only asked the question to Ron DeSantis. And then it's hilarious because Fox News is a corporation. They divert all of the attention away from that question. They ask it to Ron DeSantis, and Ron DeSantis answers it, and then they move on to the next question. They don't even allow all of the candidates to answer that question. Why even put the question in there? This is a question that I actually want to hear from the candidates on, right? And they just move on from that question, and it's clear because Fox News is a corporation and they rely on the big tech money. And yeah, so we're censored on Facebook. I don't know why. We're banned for a couple of days, and I have no idea why. But that's censorship of freedom of speech. And what really needs to happen, and none of the candidates, Ron DeSantis included, a couple of the candidates circled back to that question and tried to answer it even after Fox News moved on. None of the candidates really said what needs to happen. What we need to do is enforce Section 230 correctly and not allow these platforms to act as publishers. You get this. So, Section 230, what it says is people who get on there and threaten violence. So, say some crazy social media user goes on there and starts threatening violence. You can't go after the social media platform if one of the users on the platform is threatening violence against somebody else. You have to go after that individual who said it. A lot of times those people don't get in trouble because they post things anonymously. But anyway, you can't go after Twitter just because some nut job says something on the internet. I think that's a great rule. Okay, you can't control the internet and what people say. You should go after the individual who says it, not the publisher. Or not the platform. Because it's hard to moderate and edit a platform, although they do it against conservatives all of the time. But anyway, so publishers, so say like you have a newspaper, so similar to that of the Washington Post, they have a bent and they are editorial. Now, if the newspaper itself publishes something that's threatening in nature, then they can be sought after by the authorities because they're a publisher. So if the newspaper were to print something, false, like defamation or something like that, then they could be sued. The platforms can't be sued. However, what's going on now, the platforms are acting like publishers and they're editorializing. So they are taking conservatives off of the platforms and they're censoring people. Well, whoa, 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 whoa. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can't censor because this is the town square. This is freedom of speech. You don't get in trouble for people who say things on your program or on your platform. You don't get any kind of you don't get in trouble for that. The publishers will get in trouble for that. They'll get in trouble for defamation, libel, all that kind of stuff. They're held to a much higher standard, these publishers, these news articles, newspaper organizations. This is why Fox News, they had to pay and settle a bunch of money for that, I don't know, defamation suit that Dominion had against them, those voting machines. This is why they had to settle it out because they're a newspaper. And they editorialize. This is why Fox News has a bent. This is why Washington Post has a bent because they can do that. Uh, Platforms, though, they can't, and Section 230 lays that out as to why they can't, because then they're acting as publishers, and the reason why they don't get in trouble for people on their platform saying things is because they're a platform. So they're trying to pretend to be publishers. They want to be publishers because they wanna have the editorial bits, and they want to editorialize, and yeah, it's disgusting, and none of the candidates up there, none of the Republican candidates actually said what needed to be said. We need to enforce Section 230 for what it says. But ho, 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 none of them said that. You wanna know why? Because a single one of those people up there, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, all of them, they rely on the big tech money. So they didn't say that. They rely on the Fox News money. They rely on all of their money for their campaigns. That's why they didn't say, "Hey, we need to actually enforce Section 230," because, oh no, oh no. All right, 309-451-9299. We've got so much to get to. Border Patrol seizing enough fentanyl to kill every American this fiscal year. What? Uh, and fentanyl, believe me, folks, I mean, I'm sure you know somebody. It's incredible the amount of people that I know that they know have had somebody in their life die of a fentanyl overdose. It's incredible. It's a real problem here, I think, specifically in the state of Illinois. We're going to get to that. Plus, this smug reporter, and I'm not much of a UFC fighter type person. Like I said, you guys know that I watch Formula One, F1 racing. That's about it. And I don't watch fighting. I'm not really a big fan of it, but sometimes I love what comes out of the cage matches, especially when Dana White, he destroys this smug reporter because the smug reporter asks Dana White about this Christian fighter. And this Christian fighter actually brings the Bible into the cage. And the smug reporter was like, "Well, so what do you think about that? Isn't that kind of crazy?" And Dana like looks at this guy and he gives the perfect answer. So I can't wait to share that with you also a little bit later. This is going to be a majority of the show today, and I can't wait to talk about Republicans who aren't really Republicans, but they're actually Democrats. That's the problem here, especially in the state of Illinois. There's no Democrats that are actually Republican. And that's so funny. There's no such thing as dinos. There's only rhinos. But Mike Bost, he's a congressman and he's running in the 12th district, I believe. We're going to be talking with Darren Bailey. He's opposing him. I just was scrolling on Twitter and I found this and I was like, "Are you serious right now?" I was like, "Let me fact check this because he's being really like blatant about this." So on Twitter, I'm looking at this. He goes, quote, "Last night I voted for no more sending money to Ukraine. No on sending more money to Ukraine." That's what he said. Then he goes, "We are over $33 trillion in debt and simply can't afford to continue sending an unlimited and unaudited amount of money to the country." But Congressman Mike Bost, what are you talking about? Because you've literally voted for at least every other, if not every spending bill, and I've got the receipts here. I mean, the last one that I looked up, it was the um, 7691. What this is, it's a Ukraine Supplement Appropriations Act of 2022. This is the biggest one that I've seen. What that bill does, it's $3 billion. Mike Bost voted for it. Okay, then he puts out this amazing statement where he's like, yeah, it's America first, and we can't be continuing to send unlimited money over to Ukraine. But Mike, you would have thought that you would think that he would have thought that, like, I don't know, $3 billion ago, $135 billion ago, because that's the total amount that we've been sending Ukraine. $135 billion. And I've told you, with that money, we could give homeless veterans $2 million each. We could give every household in Maui $50 million. $50 million. It's incredible. We could use that money for us. And here's Congressman Mike Bost. They lie. They lie. Republicans lie all of the time. And I'm getting pretty sick and tired of it, because they'll come up, they'll cozy up to me all of the time. And Dan Bongino talks about this, and it's at the local level too. They'll cozy up to you. They'll be like, yeah, I want to be on the show. I think it's so great, and blah, blah, blah. It's amazing what goes on behind the scene. I want to be on the show. I think it's so great. Then they get on the show, and then they're like, yeah, I'm just like one of you. I'm one of you guys. And yeah. And then they screw you over once they get in there. Yes, I'm talking about Dennis Tipsword. He gets in there, and then he votes for non-citizens to become police officers, which is, by the way, against federal law. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I've seen it. Kathleen Lorenz, she'll try to get on the show. She'll try to be like, yeah, I'm just like you. Then she turns around, votes for things like taxes and increasing taxes on this, that, and the other. It's insanity. All right, I'm going to get to all of that here on the Morning Buzz. I do have to take a quick break, but we're going to get to the Border Patrol agents they're like struggling with this Biden alien invasion, because that's what it is. It's an alien invasion at the southern border. And these Border Patrol agents, have seized enough fentanyl to kill the entire U.S. population several times over, just in this fiscal year. That's next on the Buzz. It's a Friday morning. Whew, we've got so much to get to today. I know, I'm telling you. Darren Bailey will be joining me here in the 7 o'clock hour to talk about the Mike Bost thing. And I'm really excited about that. Join me live on the live stream. That's Rumble. I suggest you go to Rumble and you give us a follow, because these big tech platforms, I'm about sick of them. That's next. So I'm reading this internal memo, folks, and it says that this pro-China business, it's called Club for Growth, and they wrote an internal memo to donors even after spending millions of dollars that none of their 40 anti-Trump TV ads have been successful, and in some cases actually backfired, and the backlash actually increased Donald Trump support. Hilarious. So yes, the CCP doesn't want Donald Trump in at all. We're going to be talking with some folks out in Manteno about the Goshen electric vehicle battery plant. It was truly incredible. JB Pritzker, he wrote a letter and he claimed that the Illinois Senate caucus, the Republican caucus, was xenophobic, and that's why they don't want the CCP battery factory. Quite incredible. So I'm reading through this letter by J.B. Pritzker. So J.B. Pritzker, he addresses the Senate minority leader and the state Senate Republican caucus in this letter. And it has to deal with the Goshen electric vehicle battery plant. And I'm telling you right now, I don't. Sometimes I think that JB just gets out there and he tweets all of this nonsense and he's very inflammatory just because he wants to look a certain way to his base. He wants to look uh, like an extremist to his extremist base, the leftist base. Make no mistake, that is his base. Their base, they're very extremist. Um, and sometimes I just think that it's, all a show. This is a letter from JB to the Senate Republican caucus. And, he's acting so inflammatory in the letter to where I don't think it's an act. Sometimes I think that JB is just being inflammatory because it's an act. I don't think it's an act. I think this guy is actually as nutty as he sounds when he's out there. This wasn't a press conference. This wasn't um, a, a a photo op. This is a letter. So in the letter, he accuses the Republicans, and I'm just going to quote the letter here. While I am succeeding at creating jobs in every region of the state, yeah, unemployment is at a record high right now. So big yikes. Actually, here in Bloomington, I think it increased by a couple of percent since you've been in office. But anyway, um, they so he goes, while I am succeeding at creating jobs in every region of this state, even areas represented by Republicans, your caucus members are resorting to xenophobia, and that has the potential to deter future investors from around the world because you're hoping for some grotesque short-term political gain. Then he says, opposing these 2,000 odd jobs, which these 2,000 odd jobs, they are not going to be for American citizens. Most likely, it's going to be people from Goshen filling those jobs. They're going to bring those jobs to here, right? And it's not actually going to be jobs for you in Manteno. So what am I talking about? It's the Goshen electric vehicle battery plant. They're going to be making these lithium batteries, and it's going to be a $2 billion plant. For some odd reason, they're getting $8 billion to build the plant, which I don't understand. Plus, so some of that's from the feds, some of that's from the state. Most of it is from the federal government in grants, but some of it's from the state. I think it's a $500,000 we gave them. But he's wrong. First of all, he's sitting there saying, "Yeah, oh yeah, the the jobs I'm going to create more jobs." Actually, and I've got this from Diane Benjamin. The unemployment rate has it's high. From August of 2022 last year to August of 2023 this year, I've got all of the metropolitan areas here in Illinois. And you look at Bloomington. So in August of 2022, the unemployment rate was 3.7%. There was a change, like I said, and it jumped up to 5% Then you look at places in Decatur. They were at 5.5% in August of 2022, jumped up to 7.2%. Okay, let's look at Kankakee, which is kind of close to Manteno there. It's a smaller town. It's in Kankakee County. Kankakee, their unemployment rate is 5.3%, and then it jumped up to 6.8%. Now, from 2022 to 2023, I mean, come on, this is all JB's reign. He's been in office for a couple of years now. So come on. Uh, there might be more jobs, but there's way more unemployment. So he's creating all of these jobs, but they're not being filled. Okay. You can say you're creating all of these jobs, but they're not actually being filled by people here in the state because the unemployment rate is so high. You understand? It's just, so he's lying. He's straight up lying in the letter. And then he resorts to insults and calling them xenophobic. I'm sorry, but I think everybody knows that China is our biggest adversary, um, when it comes to everything. They are our biggest adversary, and of course, people are going to have concern, especially when you don't include them in the process. There was no public participation in allowing this electric vehicle battery plant to erect itself in Manteno. Nobody was consulted. It was all done behind closed doors. Of course, people are going to be upset about that. So I don't know where he's coming at with xenophobia, calling Illinois Republicans xenophobic. What are you talking about? This is the CCP, and I've told you before what they do over in the CCP. Just a glimpse of what's going on over in China. They've got these huge corporations. Now, I don't know if Goshen is one of these corporations that have this going on in China. But it wouldn't shock me to find out if they are like these huge corporations. They're headquartered there in China, and they've got these huge sky rises where people are working away and they don't get to go see their families. They don't even have time to eat. They definitely don't get an hour lunch break, right? That's not an 8-hour work week or work day either. They're working 24/7 and they are, I mean, labor unions. Are you kidding me? Never. Not in China, not in the CCP. What will happen are these people are going to work, 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 and they get so depressed that they actually jump out of these high rises where they're working, and they'll jump out. And in order for them to not kill themselves, what the CCP has done is create suicide nets around these high rises and around these, buildings. So that way, when people jump out of the window to kill themselves, they're caught by this suicide net. So the CCP won't even let you commit suicide. Okay, talk about no freedom. Okay, they won't even let you commit suicide. Which suicide is sad. It's wrong. I don't think anybody should commit suicide. Look, I'm not saying that. Uh, what I am saying is the CCP is so evil to its people that that's what's going on in China. Okay, and we don't want any of it. Okay, there's a reason why borders and why we're so pro border as Republicans and why we should be pro border as Americans. A border just isn't even, it's not to just keep adversaries out, it's to draw a line in the sand. It's to say, hey, your culture is different than our culture. Okay, we can respect your culture, we can let you live the way you want to live, that's fine. But when you're here in the United States, you abide and you live within the confines of our culture and you have to accept our culture. They're all about uh, cultural appropriation or whatever, but yet they don't want to talk about how the United States has the culture of its own and it should be respected and honored. They hate that. But yeah, JB in this letter, I just couldn't even believe it. I mean, it reads like a teenage girl who's in a gender studies course at ISU, and he just rips into the Illinois Republicans for literally no reason. I mean, he's like 2,000 jobs. Yeah, that's a lot of jobs, but like I said, it doesn't matter how many jobs you create. If the Americans don't fill those jobs and if the Illinoisans don't fill those jobs, then it really doesn't matter now, does it? And we can see with your track record, JB, that unemployment is getting worse under your reign. 309-451-9299. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, like the program, share it out with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Cat Peterson 929. Before we take the break, I do want to get to this really cute story. I like to do this. It's obviously been a very rough year for the people of Maui. These devastating wildfires have put a lot of families, put out a lot of families where they're homeless and they're trying to put their lives back together again. It's really quite sad over there. And I've got extended friends, friends of friends, and they've got family over there. And what they describe is just atrocious. It's so sad. Um, but Roy and Kathy, they're the founders of this charity group, and it's called the Ukulele Festival Hawaii, and they saw an opportunity to help those in need. So, for over 50 years, the mission of Ukulele Festival Hawaii has been to bring laughter, hope, and love to everyone through the music of a ukulele. A ukulele. At this time, Roy and Kathy, as well as everyone working with them, wanted to focus their attention on those reeling from the wildfires. So, uh, and thanks to their hard work, the Ukulele Festival Hawaii will be donating 800 ukuleles to organizations in Maui who will help get the instruments into the hands of those who have been directly affected by the Maui wildfires, which I think is interesting. They're you hear about the money all of the time and people donating money. We're actually going to get to a Christian UFC fighter. He actually donated like $5,000 to a family in Maui after his fight. And after he won this very close fight, he says, I'm going to donate $5,000 to Maui. But you don't really get to hear about these nice stories about people donating other things like ukuleles, which is really interesting. So I can't play the ukulele. I can't really play. I play the violin, the flute. I'm not good at the violin because I've tried to teach myself. Uh, I had band instructors teach me how to play the flute. I know a little bit of trumpet because my twin brother, he plays trumpet. A little bit of saxophone, uh, a little bit of piano. Music is once you learn one instrument, learning another one is kind of easy. Uh, but the violin is probably the hardest. I've never even picked up a ukulele, so I wouldn't know the first thing about a ukulele. On the other side, this is the morning buzz. We're going to be getting to the Border Patrol agents, how they seized enough fentanyl to kill the entire U.S. population several times over, just in one, or just in the this fiscal year. That's it, just in this year. We'll be back. Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299, and we've got a text, because you can make more money sitting at home on benefits than working. Yes. I don't understand. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I've created more jobs than any other governor. Joe Biden does this," and I don't understand because the numbers just don't line up with that. You can create as many jobs as you want, but there's, unemployment up everywhere. So in Bloomington specifically, last year, August 2022, it was 3.7%. That's up 5.0%. So 5%. I mean, that's unemployment is up everywhere. You look at Decatur, you look at Dan, it's all up from the year prior. More jobs, but more unemployment. Okay. It doesn't really matter how many jobs come to this Goshen Chinese company, CCP backed company in Manteno. It doesn't really matter how many jobs because if those jobs aren't being filled by Illinoisans, then sorry, then it really doesn't matter how many jobs you bring. And let's be real here, those jobs aren't going to be filled by Illinoisans. Goshen is going to be the Chinese. They're going to be bringing their people in, and they're going to be working in Manteno, and those residents aren't going to see any kind of benefit. In fact, their taxes are going to go up because of that electric vehicle battery plant. And like I said, Governor J.B. Pritzker writing this letter, which reads like, I don't know, a 13-year-old girl who's upset that she's in a gender studies course or whatever. And like, I just can't believe that he just goes on this rant about how the Republicans are xenophobic. I think that if you ask anybody, they know that China is our biggest adversary right now. And it's not xenophobic to have concerns that, hey, the CCP has a company and they want to build a $2 billion plant in this small little town in Illinois. And it's not working in Michigan either. So Goshen has been trying to get into Michigan. They've got a plant there. I think it's the Big Rapids or something like that is where that plant is going up. And there's a nonprofit organization who has said, nope, we're suing you for doing this because you didn't consult us. Which I'd imagine there's going to be all kinds of lawsuits that these Manteno residents are going to get together because they weren't even a part of the process. The public participation was not there. It was all behind closed doors. J.B. Pritzker got cozy with the mayor there in Manteno, and they came up with this plan to give them all kinds of local incentives, state incentives to build this plant. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about the Border Patrol agents. So they're struggling to keep up with this alien invasion at the southern border. But these agents have seized enough fentanyl to kill an entire U.S. population several times over. Not just once, twice, several times over. Just in this fiscal year. So Border Patrol chief, his name's Jason Owens, he said on X, Twitter, that the agents seized more than 40,000 pounds of marijuana, 13,000 pounds of meth, 11,000 pounds of cocaine, 2,700 pounds of fentanyl. So 2,700 pounds of fentanyl. You're like, oh, well, that's not nearly as much as the pounds of marijuana. Just look at the tip of a pencil, like an actual pencil, and you look at the tip, the very tip of that. That's how much was in George Floyd's system, actually. Um, and that very tip of your pencil is enough to kill you. That's enough fentanyl to kill you. And George Floyd, I think he had 3 times that amount in his system, actually. But just an itty bitty bit of fentanyl will kill you. So 2,700 pounds of it, pounds. That's a lot. And that's only drugs found between ports of entry, not at official crossings. So uh, that's probably way more than that. Okay, so these aren't even at the official crossings. Most likely, they apprehend and seize drugs at the official crossings. These are just at ports of entry that aren't official crossings. People try to cross over the border officially with drugs in the back seat. They even try to do it with people. Human trafficking. Go watch Sound of Freedom. They actually tried to traffic children, and they do it through the official crossings 9 times out of 10 because they get new passports for these children. They pretend the children are theirs, and then they cross over into the border and traffic them into the United States. You know that the United States, the number one consumer of children trafficked. It's quite sad. Anyway, so there's more than 230,000 migrant encounters at the southern border just in August, and that number doesn't look like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. Border Patrol tells Fox News that they recorded 11,000 illegal crossings over the previous 24 hours. That's the single highest day in recent memory. So we're looking at about 11,000 illegal crossings every single day. On a daily basis, about 11,000 people are crossing over. Officials told Fox News that large groups of migrants are creating a distraction for cartels to move contraband like fentanyl into areas that are unpatrolled by agents. So we actually saw that, and I can't quite remember the story, but what they'll do, they'll drive these migrants, and they are told by the cartels, hey, you better do this and create a distraction or a diversion. And there was actually this news story where a bunch of migrants were in a van and then they drove off and they crashed into a school, or they crashed into like this uh, facility. It's a border town school. And it created this big diversion. They thought, oh my gosh, they're going after the children. We're going to have to go send all the enforcements there, send all of the law enforcement there to go check this out. Meanwhile, you've got the drug cartels, while all of the law enforcement, border patrol agents, police officers, because they're all stretched very thin, okay? So they all go and they investigate this incident over here where they crashed a van into a school, a border town school. And they're like, "Oh man, we got to go over here." And then we've got the cartel coming in on the other side, sneaking in all of this fentanyl, 2,700 pounds of it. Wow. Fentanyl is up to 100 times stronger than morphine. It's not very expensive to make and often cut into other drugs, which is why users aren't aware that they're taking it a lot of the time. So it's really tragic. Text me, let me know in the comment section. It's anonymous, right? I won't know who you are if you text me 309-451-9299. Do you know somebody, and describe to me, if you know somebody who's gone through a drug overdose like this? Because, I mean, I know so many people who have died from drug overdoses, specifically fentanyl, which is very concerning because it's cut with a lot of things, cocaine, and, you'll die. I mean, it just takes, like I told you, the tip of your pencil to kill you. It doesn't take very much. It's quite sad. Uh, this is just fentanyl they seized. Can you imagine how much more actually got into the country? I mean, 2,700 pounds, that's just all they seized and all they're aware of what they imagine how much more. In 2021, the most recent year for which complete data is available, because we don't have the 2022 numbers yet, 48,830 people have died from gun related injuries in the United States, according to the CDC. So in 2021, and that's gun related injuries. So it could be people that shot themselves via suicide. It's gang related violence between 17, 18-year-olds with handguns, things like that. It's not mass shootings solely. It's not people with AR-15s. Okay. This is just all gun related injuries. Uh, Injuries that cause death in people. And we're looking at about 50,000 people. You look at the drug overdoses that have occurred in the United States, here it is, 106,699 drug overdose deaths occurred in the US in 2021. What? Drug-related deaths far exceed gun-related deaths, but you wouldn't know it because you never hear progressives say anything about closing the border. Instead, they open the floodgates, while they cry about, gun control. They'll sit there, cry about gun control, gun control, gun control, but nobody mentions fentanyl overdose deaths, and I'm getting pretty sick and tired of it because you or somebody you know has dealt with this. Um, but the real reason the left refuses to connect the dots between fentanyl and the border crisis is because they would have to admit that we have an open border. That's what we've got right now. It's an open border. Joe Biden, he came out and he said, "Come, come across. We're inviting you." So What is the progressive solution to the fentanyl crisis? Just carry some Narcan on you, no big deal. What? So, New York's latest advice to combat this fentanyl crisis is that everybody should just carry Narcan on them. Ladies, put it in your purse. The health department made the recommendation after a 2-year-old boy was killed by fentanyl at a daycare in the Bronx. The city also reported a 12% jump in overdose deaths last year. The health commissioner there in New York City, or New York, said that after the toddler's drug death, so we have a 2-year-old boy being killed by fentanyl, you should be carrying Narcan on you right now. So he's just saying everybody needs to carry Narcan. Right. Because fentanyl overdose is totally the same thing as an allergic reaction to peanuts, right? We should just carry, Narcan on all of us. Um, and it's amazing what the health commissioner said, and I'm just going to read this to you, and your jaw's going to drop. He goes, "We have defibrillators behind every bar, in every business, and in every public event. Increasingly, we have more EpiPens." In public settings. So he's comparing this to a defibrillator. Narcan as a defibrillator or as an EpiPen. Are you serious? It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. W- this is not the answer. Narcan, just carry Narcan on you. No, we need to close the border. We need to stop the fentanyl pouring in. The crisis at the southern border and the fentanyl problem are obviously directly related. All right, we're going to be back. I'm just so sick of liberals. I mean, the left wants you to surrender to the problem they caused and just carry Narcan as a cop out. That's what they want you to do. They want you to surrender to the problem that they caused. No, I'm sorry. I'm not carrying Narcan on me. We're going to fix it. We should be fixing it. What a total clown show. On the other side, a Christian fighter. He's in the UFC. He brought a Bible into the cage. That's an exciting story. That's next. Bryce Mitchell. Huh. Man, he's got quite the record. 16-2 USC fighter. So he's won 16 matches. I mean, wow, he is an outspoken Christian, and I think that we need to more Christians need to be like this guy. Most journalismers are not outspoken Marxists because they hide it under the guise of "I'm just doing journalism and I'm just doing journalism and asking questions." No, no, no. You are an outspoken Marxist. You just try to hide it. It's not surprising that a reporter wanted to comment about weird old Bryce bringing a Bible into the octagon from UFC President Dana White. This is what the reporter did. He's a smug reporter, and he was like, "Hey, it's kind of weird that he brought a Bible in him, right, Dana White?" And Dana White was not having it. His response uh, was actually surprising, and I'm excited to play that here on the other side. Bryce, he's the UFC fighter, Bryce Mitchell. He actually walked out to Oliver Anthony's Richmond North of Richmond. You know how they do like the big walkout music and they get into the cage. He walked out to the song Richmond North of Richmond, which I found absolutely amazing. On the other side, we'll chat about it. Plus, Mike Bost, oh, he's a politician, so of course he's lying. It's a day of the week that ends in Y. That means politicians lie. On the other side. Yeah, I'm really peeved off about this Mike Bost thing. So Mike Bost, I was scrolling on Twitter and you wouldn't believe it. Here he is. He's saying this. He says, "Last night I voted no on sending more money to Ukraine. We're over $33 trillion in debt and simply can't afford to continue sending an unlimited and unaudited amount of money to the country." But Congressman, this is what makes me so mad about politicians. He's going to put out this nice fluffy statement and say that no, we're going to keep America first. We're not going to fund Ukraine anymore. But Mike Bost, if you go through his record, I'm looking at it. I mean, the most recent one that I can find, he spent what $3 billion to Ukraine, and he voted yes for it. Okay, so Mike, I'm sorry, I don't know what changed your tune, but you've been voting for these spending packages to Ukraine since the dawn of time. Okay, you are promoting it, and I'm sorry, but I think that the reason why he's coming out with this press release now and him trying to gloat about how he voted one time no to spending more money in Ukraine and funding Ukraine. He voted one time, folks. He's trying to he's trying to win an election. This is the only time politicians start to sound like you and me. This is the only time they really like come out of their little hidey hole and start talking to you and me is because they have an opponent and they have to fight for their seat. But Mike Bost, I've got the receipts, folks. He voted on like $3 billion worth of aid to Ukraine just in 2022. I think it was May of 2022. I'm sure he's voted for other spending packages. That was just the one that really caught my attention. I was like, wow, $3 billion. And he voted for this. And I knew that he had voted for it. But then I'm scrolling on Twitter and I'm like, whoa, 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 Mike, pal, you're lying. And politicians lie. And I'm really getting sick and tired of it. We have a big problem with dinos or rhinos. There's never any kind of dinos. Okay. We don't hear about dinos, Democrats. People is running as Democrat, but really they're Republican. Now, I do think that that Dallas mayor in Texas did that. I think he ran as a Democrat, but secretly he was a Republican. And then he switched sides once he got elected, which I think should be our move. We should just run as Democrats and then come out as Republican afterwards and vote Republican. But we've got a big problem with rhinos. It's everywhere. It's in your county government, it's in your local government, and it's amazing what politicians will do. They'll try to cozy up to you, they'll try to get on the air, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're just like the people. We're all about this conservative movement." Then they get in there, and folks like Dennis Tipsford, yes, I'm name dropping because I can. Dennis Tipsford votes for things like non citizens becoming police officers. It's truly incredible. And then you've got, small town mayors. Now, I don't know if he's a Democrat or what in Mantino, but he's a small town mayor. And, I'm sure that the people kind of like him in Mantino. He's cozying up to JB and he says, "Oh, yeah, let's bring the Goshen electric vehicle plant here to Mantino." Uh, what? And the Mantino residents are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. Try that in a small town." You're not doing that. You're not bringing CCP companies to our small town here in Manteno. So there is a rally. I did want to let you guys know that there's a rally going on. It's October 2nd. You guys can check it out on our social media page. It's going to be at the Hassett Center on Main Street there in Manteno. It's at 5 p.m. Right before the village board meeting. So there's going to be a village board meeting, and I'm sure the Manteno residents are going to rip into the village board just like they did a couple of weeks ago. Coming up, we're talking with Darren Bailey. I think he's here now, so let's check in. Testing. Good morning, friend. All right, let's see. Here we go. Okay, now we're there. Okay,
Can you hear
let's
me
see.
now?
I sure can.
Right.
Running for the 12th Congressional District, Darren Bailey. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you just great. Thank you.
Darren Bailey, thanks so much for coming on. We're going to be coming on here in just about like a minute or so for our
right.
radio friends, but we're here with our live stream friends. And I'm excited to talk about Mike Bost. I couldn't believe it. I'm scrolling on Twitter. Then I find his little press release. I've got his press release here, I think. And he says, oh, yeah, we got to keep America first, and we got to stop spending. And then I'm like thinking to myself, whoa. If I'm not mistaken, this guy has voted for, if not every other spending bill that's gone to Ukraine. And it's just in real time, I saw a politician lie like that. And they do it all the time. I'm not shocked. But do you mind hanging out just 1 second, and then we'll come back for the radio?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, look, another one. Joe Biden, his administration targeting Elon Musk again with another lawsuit. This time he's claiming that Tesla, they've got this racial harassment thing going on. This is in addition to the other regime lawsuit over SpaceX not hiring enough illegal immigrants. And then there's also another investigation into Tesla because I guess they built a glass house for Elon Musk. Don't be fooled by any of this. This isn't justice. This is a regime running a lawfare hit on their ideological enemy. That's it. That's all this is. They don't agree with him politically. They don't agree with the free speech platform Twitter, and they're going after him, and they're going after him hard. It's time for the conservative movement to consolidate around Trump and aim all remaining resources, money, field staff, ballot chasers, base energy at the only thing that truly matters: beating the Democrats in 2024. That's all that matters. And I was sick to my stomach watching that Republican primary debate, the presidential debate. But we're going to get to Darren Bailey. He's running in the 12th Congressional District. Darren Bailey, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. Also in studio, he's in studio, your good friend, David Paul Blumenshine. Thanks so much, David, for coming in.
Kat, you know what? We're not live on Facebook right now.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the thing. The big tech oligarchs. So I got in trouble for sharing something on Facebook, and now I can't be on the city's 92.9 Facebook.
Oh,
So it won't allow me to live stream. I know. Isn't it amazing?
you have
Like,
been sent to the principal's office, Kat.
yes. And it's incredible. And Darren, I don't know if you saw that if you watched the debate at all. You were actually at the, I think, Michigan rally with Donald Trump.
I was
So
at the real movement. Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was with the winner of the debate. He didn't even
That's
need to
right.
be there to kick butt. So
yeah, well, and that's the thing is, so they gave the question. It was incredible and it was weird. Fox News gave the question about big tech censoring you. And that's something that I think the Republicans really want to hear about is Republican voters. They're like, yeah, that's my number one issue. I'm scared about the DOJ being weaponized, the IRS, and these big tech companies censoring me. And they only asked it of Ron DeSantis, and then they moved quickly on. Like they didn't even allow the other candidates to answer, which was really incredible. But I wanted to have Darren Bailey on because Mike Bost, I saw something on Twitter and it was truly amazing. He sent out a press release, and I'm just going to read this for us real quick, Darren. He goes, at a time when we're fighting to restore fiscal sanity here at home, we can't continue sending hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine with little accountability for how that money's spent. The needs of the American people come first. For that reason, I voted to cut security assistance to Ukraine in the defense appropriations bill. Okay, Mike Boss. Pal, I got the receipts. You voted for, and I've just got the one vote. I'm sure he's voted for every other one, if not everyone. But this was $3 billion to Ukraine, 2022. It was the Supplement Act of 2022. Look it up, $3 billion. He just sent it away, pissed it away in Ukraine. The same people who, mind you, have Americans on kill lists, and then the president there has threatened terrorism against our European allies. He said that, hey, Western Europe, thank you so much for allowing our Ukrainian refugees to take refuge in your country. He goes, but there's no telling what they'll do if you stop giving us money. He's essentially threatened terrorism on our allies in Europe. It's incredible. But your reaction, Darren Bailey, and you're running against Mike Bost, aren't you?
I am, and I was over in the Metro East at a Republican Lincoln Day dinner last night, and you know that the leader of the Illinois Republican Party, Don Tracy, was there, and they had a forum and talked up front. And of course, what do you think the topic was? You know, our biggest problem is people. They didn't mention my name, but people running against good conservative representatives and infighting within the Republican Party. And Kat, you said it earlier. We have got to clean up our party. The reason that J.B. Pritzker and the Democrats have control of Illinois, the reason that Joe Biden and Democrats have control of this nation is because Republicans have let them. And this exact same scenario proved true. That's when I first was blessed to meet my good friend David Paul 5 years ago when I ran against my state representative, because he did the exact same thing here in Illinois. He voted for the budget, and then they went over here to the appropriations. Well, it's really all the same thing. When you approve of this package, and then you go over here and say, okay, now we have to line item everything. They try to make it to where, no, this is just the process. No, I witnessed it for the last 4 years in the House and the Senate, and it's absolutely disgusting how they try to maneuver this. So, you know, back in, I think, May, my opponent voted no for the spending cap, only after he had to poll the district to find out. These people are completely out of touch. You talked about restoring Republican leadership. The only thing that they're interested in restoring is their career in the next 2 years of the election. So no, this is you go to do the same thing I did. When I felt like God was calling us back into government and I needed to stay in this mission field, I then began to explore, where do you want me at? And actually, the very first place I went to was some of the conservative scorecard posts. To go to Conservative Review. Just Google Conservative Review, click the scorecard, and you're going to see a person in my opponent that up before Mary Miller, 6 years, had a 40% conservative voting record. Mary Miller comes along and she helps him out a little bit, be a little more conservative. and then he gets a primary this year, so he's been voting, along how he should be. But even with those this year and the last 2 years, he still only has a 50% voting record. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, that's Rodney Davis and Adam Kinzinger class. That's where that's at. The Republicans have got to stand on their message, and no more veterans sleeping on the streets, no more invasion from the southern border. We have got to start taking care of business here in our country.
Well, and $135 billion, and Mike Bost is a part of that, going over to Ukraine. With that money, I mean, people have done the calculations. We could give $2 million to each homeless veteran here in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you think about it and conceptualize that, that's incredible. We could make all of the homeless veterans millionaires overnight if we were to just reallocate that money. But Darren,
Well, you know what, Clout, real quick, it's symptomatic. When we talk about systemic anything, whether it's systemic racism, systemic corruption, we have to take apart, we have to identify that, what is our role in systemic corruption here in Illinois? And part of that role is that we play games like this, to have a congressperson who has a record of 50% voting conservative, even though he holds himself out as a conservative. But it's much bigger, Kat, because what happens and transpires in Washington is just a symptom, right? We're corrupt, we're broken, and nobody is talking about that. I would have loved to have been there last night, Darren, to hear how Don Tracy can't identify in the room, as he did when Mike Pence was speaking in Peoria at the Lincoln Reagan dinner, and he couldn't identify Richard Irvin as the culprit who was bringing down the Republican Party. And all of that. And the only reason he wouldn't identify him is because there was a multi-billionaire in Ken Griffin who was supporting his campaign. We've got to start having honest discussions about
and I think
what
it's
is
it's
transpiring.
interesting. Ken Griffin, when you look at the national level, I think he's pulled out of all of the campaign financing for these Republican candidates, like Ron DeSantis and all of these other Republican candidates, and he refuses to throw his money behind Donald Trump, who's the top opposition
Well,
candidate.
but that's where I was going with that,
Yeah.
Kat. And Darren, you obviously were in Michigan the other night. It's a resounding victory already. It's not going to change. I mean, if Glenn Youngkin, I don't believe he's going to get in, but there's rumor through the Drudge Report that Glenn Youngkin's going to throw his hat in, because they're trying to figure out to parlay together a candidate that can actually get their messaging across. Trump is basically the candidate right now of the Republican Party. And when we can't even unify, because Don Tracy and many people like him in the state of Illinois, they're anti-Trumpers. I mean, however, Trump might not be the candidate or the solution for the future of the Republican Party, but he is, or I should say, I'm not saying that correctly. Let me back up. Trump isn't the candidate for the future, but he is the candidate for next year, because he's the only one that can fix where we're currently at. And we don't know what the future looks like if we don't have a President Trump or a Congressman Darren Bailey.
Congressman Darren Bailey. And Darren, I wanted to ask you about what you said about Mike Bost. He's so out of touch. These people are playing with your money, with taxpayer money. They've never built anything up themselves. Darren has his own farm and plays with his money and uses his own money, right? Much like Donald Trump, in a way, he uses his own money, actually knows the art of the deal. Negotiations is actually had to work with his own money. And everybody on that Republican primary president debate stage, and everybody in Illinois, they have been bureaucrats from day one. They don't play with their own money because they couldn't make anything of themselves. So they play with your money, and they mess around with your money because they didn't make any of their own money off of themselves.
Darren, how long's Mike Bost been in office, held a public office?
Well, 30 years and 20 years in the state house as a state rep, garnering about $105,000 pension that, oh, by the way, increases 3% every year, compounded. He is now in his fifth term, 9 years, will be 10 when he gets out. in DC. And prior to that, I think for 10 years prior to that, served on a county board, which that's okay. But yet, when you just continue to make your livelihood, in this realm of government, it's one thing to be successful and to be good at it, but it's another thing to look at Illinois and our nation and see, where we're at and where we've gone in the last 30 years. It's interesting because I got on the school board in 1994, and I realized that was the first year that he became a state representative, and I began to open my eyes up with state government and the failings thereof, Republican and Democrat governors during the 17 years that I served on the school board, and I witnessed massive failure continually. These people are like ticks. They burrow themselves in. Interestingly enough, let me throw this in: when in Congress, when you when you get elected to your 6th term, well, you're guaranteed 85% of your pension. So we have to ask ourselves, what really is at stake in all of this? And you're right, Kat, what you said earlier. We need men and women like Donald J. Trump, businessmen and women who have built something, who have, we're taking it on the chin this year here in Southern Illinois on yield. We're losing money, and we've got to figure out, what do we do for next year? We're going to be doing things a lot differently next year on the farm than we did this year, because we're already projecting that things are going to be less. I know that we can't do things the same way we did this year. And yet government never backs up. Government continues to grow and expand. And you're exactly right. My opponent has voted for every budget for the last 8 years that have just continued to bloat and expand government. And, it feels good. You get to come back to your district and tell the people, hey, I helped build that bridge or bring this business in. But at what cost? And they, and not only that, but they take credit for things that they themselves, didn't do in and of themselves. Sometimes government, the functions of government allows things to happen. But at the end of the day, it's up to our representatives to fight for our people, help them navigate through government, and make life easier for them by actually reducing government. And instead, that's not happening.
One thing I wanted to ask too was, has Mike Boss been ripping on these these continuing resolution holdouts? He's been ripping on them?
Yes, he has. Yes, yeah, and you saw proof of that. There were some tweets put out yesterday. I mean, we go back to the speaker fight back in January 7th, I think. And you can go back and see some of this stuff, and you will see my opponent over confronting Matt Gaetz when Matt was speaking, and that was on Fox News. Got up in his face, put his finger to his nose, and was shaming him that how dare he do this when Republicans are finally in control of the House. And then a few hours later, walked up the steps, and I think that was on C-SPAN, and did the same thing to Mary Miller. So. No, he is. Mike Bost and Kevin McCarthy are co-chairs of what's called the Main Street Caucus. Look them up. You will see that they are the liberal wing of the Republican representatives in Congress, whereas Mary Miller and Matt Gaetz and others are members of the Freedom Caucus. They are the what my opponent would call the ultra-conservative right wing. And they're the ones that are truly fighting for we the people, trying to rein in spending, trying to less government, trying to make life actually easier for people who are out working, raising a family, and just trying to survive day in and day out.
Who has served this country? I take it all the way down to the state level, that has been there for a period of time, like Mike Boss, 20 years, that can truly, you can point to and say, gosh, that person fought for the freedoms of we the people for 20 years. Because right now we have in excess of $32 trillion in debt. The American people do. Each household is on the hook for about $250,000 in debt. That it's really shadow debt, right? Because we don't see it. It's not on our books. It's not in our bank account, but it exists. Darren, there is nobody. That's why term limits are so important. I know that you have signed the term limit pledge. We need to start cycling these people out because unfortunately, you're right. It has become a parasite. They become parasites. They've become feeders off of we the people, and it's just not. It's not a remedy for success.
Well,
Thomas
and
Jefferson's well, Thomas Jefferson said when he's president, and I've said this, look it up. When Americans figure out they can vote themselves, entitlements, democracy will fail. So David Paul, pull it down to 10 years. I can't find someone that's been in over 10 years that I can point at and truly say, wow, they're still working for me, because these people develop relationships. They develop relationships with lobbyists, with bureaucrats, and then all of a sudden the temptation sets in that, man, you're in a hard R district. You can go over here and help us on this bipartisan bill and take this tough vote, and we'll protect you. Your district won't notice it. And you do that one time, and you get money dumped into your coffers, and then it becomes a little easier the next time. And that is exactly what is happening. And the Illinois Education Association, IPACE, for those of you that follow the money, you will find out that my opponent over his years in the House and after, the teachers unions are just pouring money into these coffers. State reps, state senates, they're buying them off. So, a few years ago, I jumped to a different subject. A few years ago in D.C., my opponent, voted against charter schools, voted against that idea of school choice. And that's why we don't hear anybody talking about that, because the system that they're bought and paid for, and that's got to stop. And that happens over time.
Tonight, the Illinois Freedom Caucus, the version of the National Freedom Caucus, is having an event with Dinesh D'Souza in Effingham. I think you're going to be there, right, Darren?
Yes, Cindy and I'll be there.
And Dinesh D'Souza has led the way, not only with 2,000 Mules, but now Police State, because that's where we're going towards in a hurry. How can our listeners participate? Because Darren, you're still the grassroots candidate. You're the guy that is out there talking on behalf of for the people of the Illinois. Can they be part of your campaign?
Oh gosh, thank you. Go to all over the state. You don't have to do just like I did as a state rep and a state senate. So in Congress, I'll be fighting for the entire state. I'm trying to figure out a way to get up to Mendota on Monday to speak against the Goshen battery plant, the Chinese communist-owned facility. But I don't know if that's going to work or not. But yeah, go to BaileyForIllinois.com. BaileyForIllinois.com. Look me up on Facebook. I got a personal and my political page. My political page is just Darren Bailey, but look for the little the certified blue symbol. So we've actually got a month from now, come and see Dinesh D'Souza tonight in Effingham at Thelma Keller Convention Center. And then in 1 month from now, on October 27th, Donald Trump Jr. is coming. So if you go to BaileyForIllinois.com and you click on that, all this stuff will be available. You can look at that. You can buy tickets to the Trump Jr. event. You can get on our texting and our email messaging, and I'll be updating you continually on what's going on. But follow my Facebook page every day. Most mornings we try to do a live and keep people informed. And by all means, I need your financial support, because we are a grassroots movement, and the establishment likes to keep their yes people. So millions of dollars gets poured in from DC just so they don't upset the apple cart, because I will be a disruptor. I will come in and turn those tables over on behalf of the people, and do everything within my ability to get DC turned around.
Darren Bailey, thank you so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. We got to take a break, folks, and I hope to see you out in Manteno. I don't know if you're going to go. I'm going to the Manteno Goshen. I was incredible. We've got to talk about that. David Paul on the other side. Yeah. J.B. Pritzker actually calling Illinois Senate Republicans xenophobic. Because, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, this isn't a presser. This wasn't on TV. This is just a letter he wrote to the Republicans. And I'm like, man, he sounds like a teenage girl in a gender studies class. I'm telling you right now, I don't understand it. I'm like, this is a letter, dude.
For a man that's never worked a day in his life.
I know. I love it. there's no need to jump to xenophobia.
Yeah, that's a big reach there, JB.
All right, Darren, thanks so much, and we're rooting for you. All right, we're going to be back talking about JB Pritzker and his xenophobia comment. Completely bizarre. Next. Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. Be sure to like, love, share the program out. David Paul Blumenshine. The David Paul Blumenshine show is Sunday from 1 to 3, and he's got the DPB show. You can subscribe at YouTube. Just type in the DPB show. You should be able to find them and hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
We are off of Cities 92.9 Facebook. So you can find us on Facebook via the Morning Buzz.
Does that mean I'm off too?
I don't know. I think it'll change for this weekend. So here's what it says. You recently posted something that violates community Facebook policy. You're temporarily blocked from using this feature, going live on Facebook. For more information, visit the Help Center. To keep you from getting blocked again, please make sure you read and understand the Facebook community standards. The block will be active
Pretty
for
certain I don't agree with the standards.
1 day and 14 more hours. So
Okay.
yesterday it was 2 days. Today it's 1 day and 14 hours. So
Okay.
big tech. Well, you are just an idiot if you don't think that this whole pushback, this whole opposition to the Goshen battery maker coming to Manteno, you are just an idiot if you don't see what the true problem is.
Yeah.
Why there's opposite. It's obviously xenophobia. That's
Yeah.
why people are opposed to it.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with the Chinese, the Communist Chinese Party, who happens to be working every day to take over the world.
World domination. We're
yeah.
literally talking about world domination here, JB.
The vice chair in that symposium in front of, I don't know, a few thousand Chinese diplomats, right? Sat there and told you how they've infiltrated the United States. You know, when are we going to start taking people at their word?
Yeah, they're not being quiet about it. They're being very honest.
At all levels of government right now, nobody is hiding from what their intentions are. They tell you the quiet part out loud. You know, thankfully, we don't have to fear, obviously, you and I, Kat, because our faith and trust is in the one that is so far above all of this, you know, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I know it's hard not to focus on the evil, but just keep pushing in grace and truth. That's what we need to put out there. Obviously, anything you see coming out of JB's mouth is not truthful.
No,
it hasn't been.
No,
he ran an entire campaign, and once again, obviously, we just need to do a better job as people who have traditional values, who believe in common sense, logical ways of operating their lives. We have to be more deliberate about being a voice in the wilderness.
David Paul Blumenshine's voice you're hearing right over there. Be sure to subscribe to the DPB show on YouTube. Subscribe there. He is on Sundays from 1 to 3, so you can check him out. You should be able to go live on Facebook. We're not live on Cities 92.9's Facebook page because, I don't know, I think I posted something that violated the community standards.
Well, and most of what we talk about,
changing.
Yeah, most of what we talk about violates the community standards because, once again, it's not about truth. It's about lies. It's about perpetuating the sickness of humanity. And it's really sad. I want to restore humanity. And how we do that is we start, you know, I know there's a call for Trump, Vivek, and DeSantis have called for more institutions to come back, mental institutions. You know, I had a student when I worked for Unit 5 who went through the program, and a concerned citizen texted me yesterday and said, hey, you know, this student was riding against traffic in Veterans Parkway on his bicycle. This young man suffers from severe autism and other types of maladies. What do we just cut them loose? We don't have programs to assist anymore. And because of the way because of JB Pritzker.
Yeah.
You know, he believes he can just, you know, do what we do and everything's going to be okay.
And one thing that, you know, these Republican candidates and, you know, the drinking game that I was playing while watching the debates, I was like, how many times are they going to say mental health?
Yes.
This is what really bothers me. So the severe autism, the Down syndrome, add more, like just disabled, right? These are not the people who
schizophrenia. I mean, a whole plethora of different ailments
Mhm.
are out there, maladies, psychological disorders. And, right, wrong, or indifferent, I mean, we've got to address it in a
Mhm.
manner that takes these people and really provides care for them,
Mhm. And
mental health care.
I will push back. I think that there are programs out there. There's programs out there that help these people. But here's the thing: is what really bothers me with
Are they controlled by the
Republicans.
government?
Yes, well, that. But then also, these Republicans are going to sit there say mental health, mental health, mental health. But these people with schizophrenia, autism. If you look at these people are not shooting up schools. These people are not the ones who go and they go shoot somebody in the face for the fun of it. Okay,
No.
it's just not true, and they call it mental health. That the Republicans call it mental health, that it's a mental health crisis, and that's why crime is up. No, no, no,
Violent
it's not
violent
mental
crime,
health.
yeah. Violent
What's
crime has very little to do with mental health. I
Yeah,
will say this, and because David Quinn from Team Blue Line and I have talked about this many times, um, anybody that commits violent crimes usually is not in the right state of mind.
yes,
Criminal activity is a form of a mental defect.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that none of them really want to call it what it is. These people are insane and they're evil. That's what it is. It's an evil that is inside of them, and it causes them to commit these acts, these violent acts. I mean, just really quick, I want to play this. I've got it here in the shop.
I
This
know, I took
woman.
you off script. I know we were gonna read about JB and Goshen and,
We'll get back to it,
yeah.
but this is incredible because we're talking about violent crime. This is a woman who has a boy, 17 years old, and he keeps stealing cars.
Oh,
He keeps
okay.
just stealing cars, and he won't stop. And this mother has called the police on her own son multiple times, and the police keep bringing the boy back to the mother's house. And she's like, I don't want him. I want him to be punished
To
for
be
what he's
arrested.
doing.
Yeah.
I want him to
There's
be
there's
arrested.
there's no cash bail. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, her name is Tiffany, and she's a mom out of Ohio. It's in Columbus, and he has stolen cars several times. And here's the report from the local uh, TV station. I'm just going to play it here for us real quick. Here we go.
City continue with 3 incidents happening just this morning.
And now a mother of a teen who is stealing these cars is speaking out, asking for help. 10 TV's Carly Dion spoke with her today and joins us live with more on why she's frustrated. Carly.
Andrew, Yolanda, Tiffany Hammonds says her 17-year-old son recently started down a bad path, and she's done all she could to try to stop it. Now she's wondering what more could be done if police keep releasing her son from custody.
I've been begging and pleading. Please arrest him, lock him up, do something that's going to make him pay for the things that he's out here doing.
Tiffany Hammonds says her 17-year-old son has been caught stealing cars multiple times by police, and he's driving without a license. She feels not enough is being done to stop him.
I've done almost everything I could, and it's turning him against me. He's going the opposite way and doing what he wants to do, and which is turning to the streets.
Hammond says when her son has been caught by police for stealing or crashing a stolen vehicle, they keep bringing him home.
I think
So she's sick of it. She just says,
I love how they say, and he doesn't have a license. No kidding. He doesn't have a license. And guess what? He probably doesn't have insurance to steal other people's cars either. I mean,
yeah.
what kind of clown show are we living
Well,
in?
and this is the problem. This kid doesn't have a mental ailment. It's schizophrenia. It's not. And that's why I hate using the leftist terminology. They try to say that they try to chalk this all up under mental health, but that's different. What this kid
Yeah.
is doing is different. What the people in Chicago are doing is different. These people are sickos,
Well,
and they
but-
need to be locked up. There's no
But
other solution.
behavioral disorders is what this is a social issue that he has.
Bingo.
He has been rewarded. I mean, what consequence did he get for stealing a car? He got brought home. Guess what? I'm gonna go steal another car.
Mhm.
If the punishment in the classroom is that I'm going to get to go to the principal's office and get to watch a Disney flick and eat Cheetos out of a bag and drink an apple juice. Well, guess what? let me set my watch every day, 10 and 2. I'm going to be in the principal's office because you are rewarding the behavior.
Mhm.
No wonder our young people, they don't have, I just was posting about this yesterday, Kat. These young people, they don't have real men leading them.
Mhm.
And that's our society. We're trying to, we're trying to take fatherhood. We're trying to take the male influence out of the lives of these young men. And
We're trying to remove biblical teaching from culture.
yeah,
And this is leading
yeah.
to the degradation of society. It's not mental health. And I'm sick and tired of Republicans saying, well, it's a mental health issue when it comes to these guns. No, it's a societal issue and it's a godless issue.
Yeah,
These people are crazy.
and I appreciate that. But here's the thing: mental health issues, maladies,
Mhm.
for the most part, you just don't wake up and have a mental health issue.
Mhm.
You condition that. Mental health, behavioral discord, like we're seeing in so many ways,
Mhm.
is a mental health issue. It is. We're
Yeah.
perpetuating it because high inflation, the lack of true programs, jobs. I
Mhm.
mean, right now we see unemployment creeping up in McLean County. For the most part, we've always been an oasis, right?
Mm.
Chicago, the inner cities, they continue, no cash bail, the Safety Act. We continue to reward bad behavior.
Mhm.
And that in of itself eventually becomes a mental health crisis. I understand it's semantics, but really what it is our world continues to go wild and nobody wants to step in and take the reins.
Yeah.
I know of one person. He talks about it all the time, and that's President Donald J. Trump. And now Darren Bailey.
Yeah, on the other side, we're going to continue our conversation. I do want to get to this letter that JB wrote to some Senate Republicans, the Senate, I believe, Minority Leader Curran,
Yeah.
and the letter,
John Kern.
the
State
yeah, hey,
minority leader of the Senate. Yes.
the letter is insane. David Paul, you are going to be like, what? A man wrote this? That's next.
Yeah.
Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You guys won't believe what JB's letter to the Illinois Republicans say. Like this letter, I'm just going to read some of it to my good friend David Paul Blumenshine right over there. His
Yes.
show is Sunday from 1 to 3. Join me in studio today. Let me read it. While I am succeeding at creating jobs in every region of this state,
Every region.
even areas represented by Republicans, your caucus members are resorting to xenophobia
Oh,
that has the potential to deter future investors from around the world because you're hoping for some grotesque short-term political gain. So
grotesque
yeah,
political gain.
he's writing them in relation to the Goshen electric vehicle battery plant. It's planned for Manteno. This is a very small town, just a few minutes outside of where I grew up. And lying through his teeth there, David Paul.
That's all he knows. That's all he does is he lies. JB, bottom line is just be transparent, which it's not going to happen, Kat. I mean, we need to stop focusing on JB because the guy's going to continue to run. He was on the World Economic Forum stage with Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, has 26 Chinese Communist Party corporations in his state. There is a reason why Trump has an issue with Brian Kemp in the state of Georgia. He definitely has an issue with JB, but JB he's an oligarch. He's a globalist. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't care about the people that live in that community, nor does he really care about any union employee. He continues to tout that he does, but he doesn't. I mean, what did Ford do? They stopped the production, right, of their Goshen battery plant in Michigan. JB, does that sound like a clue? JB, since you're kind of like someone that deals with a little less of an intellect, it's kind of like Blue's Clues. You remember Blue's Clues?
Yeah.
Let's go to my handy dandy notebook. Yeah. Let's go to my handy dandy notebook. Let's see. Let's call it a clue, JB. Ford is stopping the production of the battery plant in a state that predominantly does auto manufacturing and assembly. I would say that would be a clue. But JB, you look at that as an opportunity.
Yep. Well, and he says the quiet part out loud here, folks. He says trillions of dollars from China have been invested in the United States, including manufacturing facilities and many U.S. companies that have manufacturing facilities in China. This investment is Illinois strictly, but business and building economic prosperity for Illinois creates jobs and brings billions of dollars in investment to Illinois as we build our leadership in the EV space. So he says the quiet part out loud, trillions of dollars China has invested into the United States. Why is that a good thing? Well, I don't
It's
like
called
that
world domination.
It sounds like domination. Sounds like we don't even have the United States of America. If there's trillions of dollars being invested here in the United States, it's China 2.0.
Well, and that's what I appreciate about Bongino. He just calls it out. So does Levin. We're owned by China. And until we start waking up and realizing, that's what Donald Trump was pushing back on. He stood up to China. He stood up to Putin. He stood up to everyone. We didn't have these shenanigans. We didn't have the economy we have, Bidenomics, under Trump. We need to make America great again. And yes, that is xenophobic, and I am an extremist, a MAGA extremist. Thank you very much. And also an insurrectionist, Kat.
And an insurrectionist. It's David Paul.
And a racist.
And racist. Xenophobic.
Yes.
Yeah, all of it. We're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz.
years.
Dianne Feinstein. She's the oldest member of the U.S. Senate, and she was, yeah. Oh, and she's the longest serving senator from California. She died at the age of 90. Her death leaves a vacant, powerful Senate seat, requiring Governor Gavin Newsom to
Yes.
temporarily appoint a successor. So
That's right.
big yikes! And then there's an election coming up.
Maybe
and
Governor Newsom will do that on the debate stage with Ron DeSantis. That they're having. He'll announce who.
Oh
Senate
gosh,
pick is.
you know
And then
your
announce
campaign
that
is
he's
in
running.
trouble when
Yeah.
you have to stay relevant by literally debating Governor Gavin Newsom. And this is weird because I guess he's running some sort of shadow primary campaign against Joe Biden, which is bizarro.
It's
Nobody's
just
talking about how the Republicans, they're having these primary debates, right? But
Oh.
why aren't the Democrats having primary debates? There is a candidate running against Joe Biden. That's JFK.
Yeah.
Where's the debate?
Well, now JFK is thinking about moving over either to the Libertarian ticket or the Independent ticket, which I think would be a great move, and obviously, especially if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, because that would basically solidify that there's not a Democrat in office. But no, Kat, you can't make. I mean, this stuff gets wackier. I mean, obviously, Dianne Feinstein's death, someone who served as long as she did, brings us back. I mean, once again, I'm not here to. Well, yes, I am. I am here for this. She was in office till she died at 90 years of age.
Why was she there?
Exactly. What was she doing? This is the power struggle that we have.
She's not representing
Gavin
anybody.
Newsom doesn't represent the people of California. I mean, bottom line is, I will say that Governor DeSantis is a good governor, but even then, I think he still falls under that. The county boards are who basically oversee government in each individual county. The state government oversees it through the General Assembly. The governor is the executive branch. What does the executive branch do? That's where we got to get back to the basics of civics, which we don't teach in our school system any longer. But there's three branches of government. There's an executive, legislative, and judicial. And they're so interwoven now. The executive branch has become the legislative branch in a lot of states. JB, he drives the conversation. I think that's why there was such a power struggle between he and Madigan. And you know what? This is not going to stop. And obviously, you said Gavin Newsom gets to appoint the replacement for that seat, that Senate seat. Well, you remember back in the day when JB was on the FBI recorded line trying to replace Barack Obama's Senate seat, Blagojevich, Pritzker, negotiating, dealing, when are the people going to see this for what it is? It is a clown show, a clown car going in reverse in warp speed.
There's no reason why she should have been in her position for that long. She didn't die at home with her family. She didn't die at home.
Yeah.
She wasn't
Care
surrounded.
Facility.
She died at 90 years old, sitting in a wheelchair, being pulled up there to hit a button, yay or nay, every single
And
day.
having to be told what button to hit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dang it, Diane. It was the green one you were supposed to
we
hit.
need, as we have a minimal age to be president or representative, we need a maximum age. And I'm going to tell you, I would be willing at 60 years of age to make this claim today that past 65, I was telling you earlier, because here I am on the morning buzz, and I asked Kat, I said, Kat, what happened to Robbins? And it sounds like we got some technical difficulties and Scott's not able to be doing Scott's takes. But Scott and I come from the same generation. We understand that we grew up with Paul Harvey. Scott's been in radio for 40 plus years. I mean, we understand our limitations of what we can and can't do at our age. I mean, getting up and getting our morning coffee and getting the cats fed for Scott, myself, getting the dog out. I mean, we've got certain things we can get accomplished before we have to go back to 99 time.
Before we to go back and get some sleep.
I mean, you can
I
only
don't
do
know.
so much in a day.
I think
What
you
could
guys
this
are
woman
rambunctious.
do at 90 years of age?
Nothing. She couldn't
Nancy
do anything.
Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, who obviously is struggling. And if and anyone that tells you that this man isn't struggling, when his doctors come out, and the lying that goes on both sides of the aisle, I'm done with it. I mean, if you tuned into Bongino's
Well, and I don't
podcast the other day,
understand why.
he
Well,
really is done with it.
Here's why. And I got to this earlier with Darren Bailey when he was on the program. You guys can see the podcast, the YouTube channel. That's Cat Peterson 99 on YouTube. You can subscribe to the channel, see us on Facebook, not Cities 92.9 Facebook, but you can also see us on the Morning Buzz with Cat Facebook. We are banned on Facebook right now, but
no, well, it was not
people,
banned. The content, mind control.
Yeah,
that's what I'm calling it now. These corporations just use mind control. They don't want people to hear what we have to say because it's inconsistent with what their messaging is. They want to brainwash you. They don't want you to hear the content that comes from the Morning Buzz or the DPB show or the Dan Bongino or Mark Levin or Mark Lee Van Camp Robbins. They don't like you to hear alternative ideas and opinions.
But I was talking about it with Darren. These people don't have lives outside of their bureaucracy, outside of this campaigning. With Glenn Youngkin, right? He's going to probably announce some sort of run, and they don't think that Glenn Youngkin is going to win against President Donald Trump. They don't think that at all. The reason why they're launching that campaign is so that way they can make money. The campaign consulting groups, they make money, they line their pockets, and they're going to squeeze Ron DeSantis's campaign. Now, after this debate, I think they're going to hop over to Nikki Haley for a little bit, squeeze what they can, because the political consultants, they get about 40%. I don't know what the percentages are, but they get a little bit of the campaign money, and they're going to squeeze each campaign, and they're going to do a pop-up campaign to get as much money as they can, because they don't want to make their own money. They don't want to make something of themselves. That's why these people don't want to go back to their lives.
Dan Bongino wrote a book called Follow the Money. I can't wait for Chris Christie. If Youngkin does indeed get in, I can hear it now. He's going to say, and then there's Youngkin Donuts.
Youngkin.
Donald Duck, Youngkin Donuts.
Donuts. Yeah, Chris Christie. Tough guy moment.
Chris Christie, which goes with Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme.
He obviously likes them when they're hot.
Yeah. Well, these people, my point is, these people do not have lives outside of politics. Their life is politics. That's why they will continue to stay there.
And our framers
until they are old and wrinkled up and shriveled up, and like Dianne Feinstein was, because she has no life.
Our founding fathers were fighting for their lives, for their fortunes,
for their
families. They were fighting for everything. They could have never envisioned that people would fly on jet planes to Washington, D.C., raise huge amounts of monies for their campaign. And I'm going to I'll just be bold enough to take the shot. We've got a congressperson that's current. We only have 3 Congress people in the state of Illinois. There's 17 congressional districts. And we have 3 of them, Mary Miller, Mike Bost in the 12th, and Darren LaHood in the 16th. Darren LaHood will not have an opponent in his district, a contender. Go look at Darren's. We were talking about JB contributing $323 million. He basically runs the state. He's given $323 million. The Republican Party hasn't even managed half of that over JB's tenure, his 2 terms as governor. But Darren LaHood is a Republican, doesn't have an opponent. He's out there fundraising still, right? I don't know what the future holds for Darren, but if you go and look at his FEC filings, I mean, he's got well over $4 million. I mean, I don't know about you, Kat. Do you got $4 million in your bank account? Kat's nodding because she's grabbing the studio line. And if you'd like to be part, obviously you can always call in at 309-451-9299. That is the text line, but she's taking a call right now. But isn't that fascinating? $4 million, and he's not even running a campaign. So where's that money going to go? That's another point. We have retired state senators in Illinois, specifically from the McLean County area, that are still sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in their campaign war chest. Are they helping county races Are they helping state rep
No,
races?
no,
What?
no.
Why did they not turn that money? This gentleman that's running in the 95th, Kelvin,
Hmm.
that's what he said. You know what he wants to do? He wants to run for 3 terms. Then he wants to find another person who's much younger than himself, building the bench, because he
Yeah.
believes in building the bench. And then he wants to turn any money that he has over that person.
Yeah.
And he wants to bring them up, because this is what it's going to take. Because I've said it many times from behind the mic. You, Kevin Ferris, Ty Smith, Paul Garcia, you guys are the future. You're going to be handed this $33 trillion, this whatever the billions that the state of Illinois is in deficit of.
Hmm.
This is going to rest on your shoulders, which is basically our children, our grandchildren, and their children, generations to come.
Yeah.
That's how we're sinking ourselves.
And they're taking your money and they don't care how they use your money. And we've got a friend on the line. His
Oh.
name is Daryl Bruck. I think I'm saying that right. Right, Daryl? Daryl, welcome to the program. This is the Morning Buzz. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's the correct pronunciation.
Wonderful. Well, you're a Manteno resident, and I saw your name listed in the Daily Caller article, and I was like, I got to reach out to Daryl, see if he wouldn't mind coming on to the show to talk a little bit about Goshen. And we're talking about, how these politicians have no regard for the people they actually represent, because they just are living in a totally different world than we are. And, Daryl, I'm curious your thoughts on what's going on with the Goshen CC pact or CCP backed
Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, the electric vehicle battery maker. They're propping up facility there in Manteno. Your thoughts as a resident? Were you consulted?
Well, first of all, small correction. I live in the next town south of Manteno, Bourbonnais. And how I got involved is I am president and co-founder of a citizens watchdog group here based in Kankakee County, Outrage. And we're an all volunteer. Nobody has paid a dime. Anyway, and we're all here in Kankakee County. And yes, when we heard about the Goshen deal, probably 1 or 2 days beforehand, it came as a shock because it was all done in secret. The Manteno residents and I, and some countywide residents, and even people out of the area, is rallying right now to stop this. Because this plant, if it is built, is right across the street from a residential area. It's right next to I-57, and on the other side is the main part of Manteno. So if there's any major fires there or anything, it's going to be quite serious. Manteno is a small community. Their fire department certainly does not have the manpower, the equipment, the kinds of chemicals that would be needed to fight such a large fire, by a lithium battery fire. And as a result, we are, with the help of many residents in Manteno and out of the area, we have hired a major national law firm, Eklund and Blando. They are fighting Goshen in Michigan and other proposals in North Dakota, and we're going to fight this. In fact, the Illinois Freedom of Caucus is going to, and Manteno residents are going to hold a press conference this Monday, October 2nd at 5 p.m. in the front of Hassett Center, which is on the main street of Manteno. It's where the village board meetings are, and then at 6 o'clock is a village board meeting. And of course, we invite anybody who's against this to please show up. Not only is it a safety issue, an environmental issue, but of course, it's giving $8 billion with a B of taxpayer dollars between the state and the federal and local property tax concessions to the Chinese Communist Party.
It's giving taxpayer money, Daryl. And I was hoping you were going to get around to that, because I get it. the infrastructure and what it entails to bring such an operation to any given area, whether it's owned by the Communist Chinese Party or not, or if they have a financial interest in it. But really what the issue is, how are we paying for it? And that's the point that I think the Illinois Freedom Caucus will make. And I'm glad that you got to that point, because we're fresh out of $8 billion in the state of Illinois right now. I don't know if anybody's, news, breaking news, but we're out of $8 billion. In fact, I don't even think we have, $1 billion. Now, JB was
I don't
very.
think we have 2 pennies to rub together.
Well, JB was very proud the fact that he thought that we had a $1 billion rainy day fund until suddenly he realized there was no longer a rainy day fund. It was spent before he could even pronounce it or denounce it or whatever he did.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
But Daryl, one thing I wanted to also ask you. So I'm reading this letter that JB sent to some Senate Republicans, state Senate Republicans, and he called them xenophobic. I wanted to ask you, Daryl, are you xenophobic? Is that why you don't want the Goshen plan to come up?
No.
I didn't think so, Daryl.
Are you a racist, Daryl? Are you a racist? White supremacist, an insurrectionist? Are you any of those things?
No, and the racist part implies there's more than one race of humans on the planet. And guess what? Science has long proved that there's only one race of humans on the planet for the last, tens of thousands of years?
Yeah.
The only difference is what?
Pigment. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because as far as I know, they have the same amount of 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 ears.
That's right.
10
That's
toes.
exactly right.
10
There's one race.
fingers.
It's the human race.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have hair.
Yes.
They have gray matter inside their head. Let's see. They have
Right.
brain.
And until Bigfoot is proven to be another type of human, there's only one human race on the planet.
Is this breaking news you're going to give us all the way from Bourbonnais that maybe you've encountered aliens too?
No, I have not. I watch the sky now and then, but
well, if you do, that is breaking news, because obviously that seemed to be in the news cycle for a while, the whole alien thing, but that disappeared too.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they hiding? Why can't they tell us the truth? That's the biggest issue I think that you and I and Kat probably have, right, Daryl, is that they did this under the cover of night. And suddenly they swoop in, and this is the big announcement. And JB wants to profess that
I wanted to ask you about that, Daryl. So the mayor in Manteno, do you know his political affiliation at all? Is this guy a Dem?
Well, I have always been told he is a Democrat. He's affiliated with a local banker that his bank no longer exists because I believe it was very weak financially and it was taken over. And this banker was a big, I have been told, is a big donor to Senator Durbin. And in fact, so much so that when the banker wants Durbin to come to town to talk to him, Durbin's right there.
Of course.
And so this has long been what everybody has known about Manteno. In fact, the Manteno mayor is a bit of an authorian. What am I saying? He's if you
a tyrant.
Manteno yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a diplomatic word to say.
Well, don't worry. We call JB a tyrant too. I mean, obviously, if you have 48 consecutive executive orders that lock down your state, I don't know what you'd call that when you take the freedoms from people without giving them a voice. There's nothing else we can call it. It's no longer a constitutional republic when you don't have a say or a voice.
This mayor recently, one of the citizens told one of the trustees verbally what he thought about their actions on a different subject. And they then sent the Manteno police to this guy's house and gave him a ticket for $325 for speaking, being mean or whatever. And
that's called free speech. For free speech. He violated free speech, which is supposed to be a constitutional amendment, number one.
And so then they had a hearing, and they hired a local attorney, of course, that found the gentleman guilty with no proof.
Yeah.
Because aren't we all innocent until proven guilty.
Not in the
So-
police state that we exist in right now, Daryl. And bottom line is I don't know if you heard about this, but Dinesh D'Souza and Dan Bongino collaborated on a new documentary called Police State. I mean, this is the reality, and bless your heart. And the watch group, what's the name of the watch group? Outreach?
It's OUTRAGE, outrage. It's
Outrage. Okay.
Yeah, organization united to reverse all government excesses. I'm the co-founder. We did it this 26 years ago. My two co-founders have since passed away. I still keep the organization going and active. We fought and defeated many property tax increase referendums over the year, sales tax increases. In fact, we had 4 proposals here to build a Chicago mega garbage dump here near the Kankakee River, and we defeated all of them. And we've been in many long battles, and as I said, no one's paid a dime. I'm always accused, who's paying you? Well, and we don't. When my co-founders were alive, we would laugh. Well, the check must be in the mail.
You're concerned. You're concerned Americans standing up and voicing your constitutional right, protected by the First Amendment. And you know what? Good for you guys. We need more people. Hey, that event is Monday night, right? At 5 o'clock.
I'm going to be there actually. So
Kat's going to be there.
Daryl,
maybe I'll tag along with Kat.
Yeah. Well, Daryl, I'm actually from I actually went to church in Bourbonnais growing up. So I was in Wilmington, and you just take 113 all the way down there, and you get up. It's the Gathering Point Church. That's the church I grew up in. It was the Nazarene Church, College Church of the Nazarene. But I went to church in Bourbonnais. So this is an issue, and I don't know why, but when I hear things, from my hometown going on, it's really just breaks my heart that this is happening in Manteno, this Goshen, and you touched on it a little bit, not only the taxpayer situation, but also the infrastructure just isn't there. Daryl, we have to take a break, but thank you so much for coming on to the program. One more time, can we find you on Facebook, the Outrage group?
Outrage.
Yes, thank you for asking that. We are at, of course, facebook.com/Outrage Kankakee County, and that's, of course, all one word. And we are fundraising because this is going to cost us a bunch of money.
Yeah, the attorneys don't work for free.
That's right. And so checks can be made out to Outrage, 2943 Chippewa Drive, Bourbonnais, Illinois. And I promise everyone that 100% of your donation will be spent on this cause. As I said, there's not enough money in this business to pay anybody anything. And we're all volunteer and always has been. And we never intended it for it ever to be having to make any money off of it.
Wonderful. Daryl, you have a great rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining the buzz. We'll be back on the other side, folks.
Thank you so much.
Hey, good morning, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. My good friend David Paul Blumenshine is in studio. You can see him Sunday from 1 to 3 in studio as well. Subscribe to his YouTube channel.
That's what I'm going to be covering.
What's that?
Well, you know what? Darren Bailey has really, and I have been talking about this for years. Why did Darren and I get involved? Darren ran against his state rep because he voted with Madigan for a 32% income tax increase. And Darren and I said, enough's enough. If Republicans can't even, who is going to fix the brokenness of Illinois? If the Republicans are sitting back talking about how, well, one conservative shouldn't run against another conservative. Well, every Republican refers to themselves as conservative. I just heard this message, Kat. Now people call themselves moderate conservatives.
What?
Yes.
It's incredible. Well, and here's the thing that you can expect from the national Republicans, and we're already starting to see it in California, superdelegates.
Yeah.
So the Democrats have this thing. It's called superdelegates. It's how they stole the election from Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And these superdelegates, they said the quiet part out loud. They said,
Yeah.
No, we're voting for Hillary.
Yeah.
She's going to be the nominee because we're superdelegates. And we can vote Bernie Sanders off the island. And
He tried to do that the other night, the moderators, which was a total fail.
A joke.
Asking the Republican candidates, which I don't even want to call them candidates anymore, because really, let's be serious. This isn't.
They're up there talking about curtains and Nikki Haley's UN office.
Rather than the invasion on the southern border, the fact that our economy is imploding, we're in the midst of a police state. Can we really have a serious discussion? You want to get a serious discussion? Go out to Truth Social and listen to some of the videos that Trump's putting out. Man alive.
Yeah.
You talk about as
we're talking about curtains, and then we're playing cutesy time with the whole question, who are you going to vote off the island? Chris Christie writing down Donald Trump because he can't get him out of his head. It's quite hilarious. But
he is a bellbuster.
Just wait for it. These super delegates. And Don Tracy, I'm sure he was the one. That's what Darren said. He was the one that said, we've got conservative candidates running against good conservative candidates.
Yeah. Moderate conservatives.
Republicans are going to want to become they want this uniparty. They don't want options. They don't want choices.
Bongino covered it. I mean, the other day on his show, and I know it was a tirade that he went on, and he used a lot of colorful language. But bottom line is, his own county board of made up of commissioners, all Republicans, voted for a tax increase.
Mm.
These people aren't, the Dan Bongino rules. Most Republicans are really Democrats, but no Democrats are really Republicans.
Yeah. No dinos. And really what I think is interesting, it's going to be cool to see this Dallas mayor in Texas, how this plays out. I think he ran as a Republican or as a Democrat, but really he's a Republican. And then he came out afterwards as a Republican.
Yeah.
That's what Republicans need to start doing. Run as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Run as a Democrat, infiltrate that party, pretend to be a Democrat, and then govern.
That's
like
a great idea.
I'm telling you.
I might have to do that. What race could I run
I don't
for?
know if they I don't know, David. Or you could just play it off like, oh yeah.
Should I primary
I was a closeted. I'm
a primary Sharon.
Do it.
But the only downside of that is then if I won, I'd have to run against my friend Desi Anderson.
Do it. Honestly, that would be incredible.
I'm going to circulate petitions for the Democrat Party. Get Republicans, get Democrats to sign my petition.
Yeah.
Put me on the ballot. She needs a primary. Sharon Chung needs a primary.
Yeah. Well, and Democrats are so lock and step. They choose their candidates. It's so interesting. We're sitting there listening to, there's been 2 already Republican primary debates for these presidential candidates. Where's the debate between Joe and JFK?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. They've been consistently changing the rules to make it to where he doesn't get to debate Joe Biden. I think you have to have so many.
Well, because Joe Biden isn't their candidate. That's the thing.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
They are so
JFK?
behind the 8 ball right now. When will they announce? Because it'll be an effort. It'll be a major push to get all the signatures needed for the candidate that they eventually choose to be on the ballot, because it's not Joe Biden. They're already backpedaling as quick as they can on all the legacy media, the mainstream media.
Oh yeah, ABC coming out with this new. They came out with a poll that has Trump up 10% or 10 points, and
that's intended to tell the world that Joe Biden's no longer the candidate.
Yeah, and then afterwards they come out and they have the news article that says that Joe Biden got payments from the CCP, $250,000, and then I think $10,000 wired into his account and wired to his house. Like it's an account with his house listed.
I'm sure that Hunter left that address for send it to my dad's house.
Switch it around. Just switch it around. Donald Trump Jr. Gets $250,000 wired
from the CCP
at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Switch it around. No evidence. What
evidence.
What?
There absolutely is no evidence.
But now ABC
You're
is
xenophobic if you think there's evidence.
Yeah.
And a racist and homophobic and
next?
transphobic.
Let's talk
and
about
an
Bryce
extremist, white supremacist. What else can you be? That just means you don't agree with liberals.
It's Friday, 309-451-9299. Folks, you can text that number right now. And actually, we're doing a giveaway, David Paul Blumenshine.
What are you giving away, Kat?
Well, Jared Neiman is coming to Paxton, Illinois for this Back the Badge Fest 2023.
Paxton.
And they are giving you a chance to attend this Back the Badge Fest. It's a really good event. It's really for a good cause. The 1078 Foundation and the Never Forgotten Services. They're excited to announce this headliner, Jared Neiman. If you text the word right now, BLUE, BLUE, to 309-451-9299, you're going to score a pair of tickets. That's right. Score a pair of tickets today. Today's the last day, and we're picking a lot of winners. So you're going to have a good chance today at winning this. Just text the word BLUE, BLUE, to 309-451-9299. You get these tickets to go see Jared Neiman. He's got really cool songs like Tequila Kisses, Lover Lover, I Can Drink to That All Night, all kinds of good country music hits. So it's Back the Badge Fest, and it's for a good cause. This 1078 Foundation and the Never Forgotten Services, what they do, they work with the community to build that relationship between police officers and community members, and that's what they work on doing. So go ahead, text the word BLUE, BLUE, to 309-451-9299. Okay, now we got to get to Dana White, and I think you're going to really like this, David Paul. So
I'm all ears.
Bryce Mitchell, he is in this fight, and I don't think you watch fighting. I know you watch football.
And just limited. I just don't find the time to watch it.
The bread and circuses.
You know what I have been watching lately, though, and I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, is the slap offs. They have the reels, and guys just stand there and they allow somebody else to slap them. Have you not seen this? Oh yeah. And most of them don't. Most of the slap offs that I've seen, they know obviously they don't stand on their feet. They go down. And so anyhow, that's about the extent of my uncontrolled fighting that I watch.
Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea. It's probably because I'm a woman and it makes me uncomfortable, all of the blood and guts and things like that. But Bryce Mitchell, he's a pretty good fighter. He's like 16-2 right now. So he's only lost a couple of fights.
I'm not messing with him.
No. So this guy, truly dynamic. He runs out there into the cage to the song Richmond, North of Richmond, Oliver Anthony's Richmond, North of Richmond.
Oh boy.
He's got a Bible in his hand.
Oh boy.
And he just puts that Bible over his head and starts
above his head.
Screaming.
I love it.
That's what he starts screaming. He screams freedom
Freedom
in the cage. And he wins the
I'm going to have to watch this guy now.
Yeah, he's really interesting. All UFC fighters are. They're all really, really based. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Toxic
masculinity. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Those alpha males out there actually acting like men.
It's truly. So Bryce Mitchell, he wins this close fight, and he donates $5,000 to the Maui
relief.
Yeah. So he donates $5,000, and then he also says this. He says he thinks Satan is taking over the earth, and he doesn't think
Satan's taking over the earth. Thanks.
No, he says yes. He says Satan is taking over the earth.
So Scripture tells us that Satan is the ruler of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he says that the fires weren't natural; that they were caused. So Dana White,
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Well, Dana White was approached by this SMUG reporter, David, and the SMUG reporter's like, "What do you think about Bryce Mitchell and his conspiracy theory that Satan is taking over the earth and him bringing a Bible into the cage?" Yeah. And it's quite funny what Dana White said. Yeah. So Dana White, I think he's like some sort of leader within the UFC.
No, he's the founder of it. Yeah.
Founder.
Yeah. So he's one of Trump's personal friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, did you not realize the connection there?
I knew he liked Trump.
Yeah, but they're actually friends.
Cool. So here he is, the SMUG reporter. What do you think about this weirdo with the Bible and saying Satan exists? Here's Dana.
I wanted your reaction to Bryce Mitchell bringing his Bible into the cage and saying freedom. Like, what was your reaction when you saw that?
I got no reaction. You know how I am here. Whatever you're into, man, there's no muzzles here. There's no, whoever you are, whatever you believe, whatever you think, we've heard it all, seen it all, and we think we have. Well, who knows what's next? But, this is one of those places where You say what you feel and you say what you want, and it's all good with me.
So I just find the reporter really interesting. He kind of does like this chuckle, like as
Yeah.
if what Bryce Mitchell was said was so crazy, and it's not. It's not at all crazy. I don't think. I think.
Well, that's what he wants to depict the UFC as a bunch of lunatics, right? He wants to derange people, that they do this with the WWE, which is more about entertainment. The World Wrestling Federation, I guess, is not the WWE anymore, but the UFC is actually, these guys are fighting. I mean, they're not playing cutesy time when they go in the ring.
Mm-mm.
What I've gathered from it, none of those guys are there to pretend like they're actually hitting the other person. They're hitting them. So I think he wants to portray the UFC as some bunch of extremists, irrational, uh, hillbilly. What other adjectives can we apply to it? Because that's all this reporter's about.
Mm-hmm. I do want to play so that way our listeners, I would hate to say, oh no, he's not an extremist and not actually play what was said.
Okay.
So
Let's hear
let's
what
take
he
a listen
said.
to
Let's see.
Bryce Mitchell
All
and
right,
what he
Bryce.
actually says. And you tell me if what he says here is absolutely like crazy.
Okay.
Here we go.
Listen.
I feel he's the hardest hitter I've ever fought. I didn't expect him to be so fast and move so well. And his grappling defense is so good too. I brought this Bible in here tonight because I do believe Satan is taking over this earth. And something specifically I'm talking about is these fires in Hawaii. I'll be donating $5,000 to Dan Ige tonight to give to people in Hawaii because I know he lost friends, they lost their homes, they lost their children. And I love these people with all my heart, and we have to show Satan that he can do nothing through the power of Christ when we come together. Let me ask you about your eye. Obviously,
So that's it.
a couple of good shots.
Okay, what do you think, David? Was that extremism or
No, I think that once again, here it is. Somebody actually taking their winnings from a fight, which he was in the ring getting hit. He just said the guy's a great grappler. He hits very hard. He didn't expect that, but yet this man has put himself in an arena, fought, and is taking part of his winnings and contributing it to a relief fund, helping other people. Let me think about this. Oh, that sounds pretty that sounds like kindness. Be kind. We want to be kind. So I think he's being kind. He's being philanthropic. He's helping others out. He's giving to those who have lost everything. And as far as Satan taking over the world, well, we already know that. That's been reported
that
for
song?
thousands of years. Could it be, as the church lady said, Satan?
Satan?
Yes.
Crazy people believe in Jesus. I think
Yeah,
that's a song.
Yeah, crazy people. Yeah. The sky god, according to some of our texters out there.
All right, we're back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. Like I said, text the word blue, BLUE, to 309-451-9299 in order to win some concert tickets to go see Jared Neiman at the Back the Badge Fest. It's a great cause, helping our police officers, our men and women in blue. So be sure to text in to win blue to 309-451-9299.
Oh.
Good morning. This is the morning. We're having a great time in studio. David, Bob, Blumenshine, and I. Now, one thing that I wanted to chat a little bit about was the Border Patrol agents finding as much fentanyl to kill the U.S. population several times over.
Yeah.
So, the Border Patrol chief, Jason Owens, says that he seized more than 40,000 pounds of marijuana, 13,000 pounds of meth, 11,000 pounds of cocaine, and 2,700 pounds of fentanyl. Wow. And real quick, David, I want to read the statistics to you. So in 2021, because that's the most recent year for complete data, 830 people died. 48,000 people died from gun-related injuries in the United States. Now that's including suicides, people who shoot themselves. Okay. Now let's look at the drug overdoses. 106,699 drug overdoses in 2021. That was in 2021. Could
In
you imagine
2021.
what they are in 2023?
And are they really the real numbers? Because ultimately, do we get the real numbers? Are these like the COVID numbers?
Yeah. Well, the gun-related deaths, that's interesting how they say gun-related injuries. That's suicides, that's
Yeah.
gang violence. This isn't like mass
Yeah.
shootings. These aren't people with AR-15s going into schools and things like that. These are, gun-related injuries. This is if you're hunting and you have an accident or something like that. Gun accidents as well happen. And they include that in those number. And that's just 48,000. The entire U.S. population, gun-related injuries, 48,000. Drug-related deaths far exceed the gun-related deaths, but we never hear progressives say anything about closing the border. And the border and the drugs that's all directly related.
Well, actually, there was a congressperson, and it was someone that's just wacko, said that we've caused the fentanyl problem
Yeah.
on our border.
What? I don't understand. Well, what's happening is there's these illegal
What
immigrants.
world do these people live in? Well, I know what bottom line is, Kat, and this is content control. They do not like America or Americans. In fact, I don't even really think they like people.
Ooh, yeah. Well, and let's be honest here. It's true because now what they've done, the progressives, their solution to the fentanyl crisis is Narcan.
Yeah.
Do you really love people if you say, yeah, just carry around a Narcan?
Well, you know what the solution to
pen,
the COVID is, right? A vaccine.
a vaccine.
Not ivermectin, not hydroxychloroquine, even though Mayo Clinic has now come out and said that it's a viable remedy to COVID. I mean, these people don't like you or
Mhm.
me. They like money. They like control. They like power. They love to be at the cocktail parties. I mean, all of these people still go to them, except
Mhm.
Dianne Feinstein. She won't be going to any longer.
Yeah, she died.
God rest her
not
soul.
with her
God have
family.
mercy on her soul.
Yeah.
God have mercy on her soul for all of the legislation that she pushed through
Mhm.
over her half of a century.
The longest serving senator in U.S. history.
Wow.
What?
90 years of
And
age.
the reason why they don't go back to their lives and why they continue to live out their lives as politicians is
And
because
torture us.
their lives suck.
Yeah.
Like, who are they without politics? Zip, zero, nothing. Like, honestly, ask yourself, okay, an established politician, one that comes to mind, Dianne Feinstein. Do you know anything about her life? Have you heard anything about anything she's done? Did she have a business? Did she have family? Was she a mother?
Did she
Was she a
work at a
grandmother?
soup kitchen? Yes. Did she raise kids? Did she have family outings at a park?
No.
Do these people, are they even real? No. They've become something other than real.
Critters. On the other side, this is the Morning Buzz. Gonna get to a few of your comments. Here's Bob. World Economic Forum Klaus Schwab, whose father was a Nazi, is running the NWO crisis along with well-connected politicians. Yeah.